This is TomSlickTV.com.
Are you ready?
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
You ready?
You can't handle
The naked truth.
Moja Ajabu, your host for After Naked Truth. This program is designed to strip the clothes off of well-dressed lies. And there's a lot of well-dressed lies running around here. And because the truth will not have on any clothes, this program is X-rated. And it's X-rated because the truth will not have on any clothes. So I suggest if you can't stand the truth, then you go and listen to Sean Hannity or his big brother, Rush Limbaugh, because they are known and very efficient with dressing them lies up and making people think that they are the truth. The truth here won't be a well-dressed lie. We're going to take the clothes off that truth. So this program is X-rated. And I'm unbossed, and unafraid of the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the butt-naked truth. Today we're going to talk about liberation psychology. How do you liberate your mind to where it is that you can move toward total freedom? Our guest is a brother that's a doctoral student, and his Andre Enoch.
Yes, sir.
Did I say that right?
Yes, sir, you did.
And Andre is going to share with you how he is on his way to become a liberation psychologist so that he can help free our mind so our butts will follow.
Yes, sir.
Andre, tell them something about yourself.
Well, I'm a student of psychology. My interest is liberating the mind for sure. I'm a single father, so I pride myself on being the example of showing my two sons what a black man should do and should be. I'm 30 years old. I've decided to further my career in psychology, but that's not where it starts or stops. I'm doing work on the grassroots level as well. I have a lot of plans for the future for sure, and the things that I'm going to do are definitely going to be liberating, and it takes heart to do the things that I want to do, and you got to rid yourself of the fear, because you can't let the naked lie run around.
That's right. Well, the well-dressed lie.
The well-dressed lie.
Yeah,
for sure.
We got to strip that. Okay, so now when you say that you want to be a liberation psychologist,
yes, sir.
Define liberation psychology for us.
Well, from my perception, liberation psychology would be to rid your mind of Eurocentric psychology or Eurocentric values, and it's a broad perspective when it comes to liberation psychology, but it's many angles to attack it. And for one, it can be the way you eat, because the way you eat helps the way you think. And on top of that, your value systems, the things that you value. So if you change your values, you can also free your mind from society's perception or the way that they expect you to be. And on top of that, education. So you have to take the things that you was already taught and conditioned to think, and you must reevaluate those things and put them in the proper perception or category for your life today, and then decide to see if those things are actually benefiting you or if those things are actually being self-destructive to you and everyone around you. Because from the community that I'm from, most of the things that people like are things that are actually not good for us. Mm-hmm. So that even goes to back, like I said, about food and the way we think, just our social settings, the things that we participate in. Is it constructive or is it deconstructive?
So what I heard you just say is there's a lot of black folks running around here thinking like white folks.
For sure.
And you want to liberate them from that kind of thought.
For sure.
And you want to liberate them from that kind of thought for what reason?
Because our lives depend on it. And as an ethnic group, we need direction towards independence. And this codependency lifestyle that we've been living or being conditioned to live got us in this system of where we perpetuate our own self-destruction. And if we don't change the way we think and look at things in a manner of being independent, then we had someone else's control.
So you're saying that if the slave is thinking like the slave master,
Yes, sir.
then the slave is sick.
Very sick.
And the sickness will actually cause the slave to help the slave master to oppress him.
Yes, sir.
And go ahead.
It will. The thing is, it will inhabit the body, and then when it's inhabiting the body, the individual will perpetuate the same value system that the slave master had and instilled into the slave. So therefore, it becomes, if the slave master hated black individuals, black people now perpetuate that same behavior. So that's why a lot of the crime and things are in the neighborhood. So it's like, the value systems has been distorted and switched around backwards. So we in this process right now of self-destruction because we have taken on the behaviors and thought process of the slave master.
So Malcolm said, if you calling on the same God, you got the slave master.
Right.
The slave master trying to hang you. You got the noose around your neck. You call on God. He call on God. You calling on the same God that he calling on, and you wonder why your God don't answer.
Right.
So what you're saying is there's got to be a different way of thinking, and actually your diet
Yes, sir.
can actually play a part in your thinking. So I know you don't eat pork.
I don't even eat meat, sir.
Ah!
I don't eat
Me either.
Oh, hey.
I eat a lobster leg every once in a while.
Hey.
But no, I don't. So that pork and that meat
Yes, sir.
can actually impact your brain to whereas that you will not be thinking about your liberation.
Right.
You'll be thinking about your subjugation and thinking that you're free.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
One of the things, I'm a theologian, and I think it's at this point, if y'all want to hear the rest of this, y'all need to go to TomSlickTV.com to hear the rest of this, because I'm getting ready to get into how our oppressors, white people, Romans, actually use pork to determine whether they could depend on us to take part in our oppression or not. I'm telling you, I'm unbossed, and unafraid of the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the butt-naked truth. Tune in or come in. Come in to 6250 West 38th Street, 1 o'clock every Thursday. Or tune in now to Tom Slick TV with 2 M's, TOMM TV.com. Take out a subscription and you'll be able to hear the rest of the show. Turn this off for me, man. All right. So, back in prior to Moses, the Romans, when they went in and conquered people, they would give them pork. Now the Jews, the Jews don't like to eat pork, or the Hebrews. And at that time, we were riding that banner of being Hebrews, God's children. And the Romans would say we could determine who's with us by who would eat that pork, which is against their laws, and who would, and they still do that today. You see white people, they love their pork.
For sure.
And they look and see if black people are eating that pork, and they say, oh, okay, we got them.
Right.
Because it tells you something about how you're thinking.
Yes, sir.
Now, do you practice a religion?
No, sir, I do not.
Ah,
I do not practice religion.
why?
Because at this moment in my life, I had to rid myself of everything in order to build myself back up. And I've been dealing with more spiritual concepts of walking and learning and using those things to build me up. But I do love African religion when it comes to like Ogun and the Yoruba. So I study more into that. But as far as religion today, no, sir, I do not.
Where did you ever practice religion?
Well, I was raised in a Christian home, actually.
Oh, a Christian home.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So would you agree that liberation theology is a subset of liberation psychology? Liberation psychology is the big picture.
Right.
Liberation theology is comes up under that big picture, and I'd say probably the most influential, because most people use their religion to determine what's right and what's wrong.
Yes, sir. So, in a sense, for me, it seems like more of a code of, not a code of conduct, but I guess a way of behaving.
I think those two things are synonymous: a code of conduct or a way of behaving, or what you base your behavior on.
Right, yes, sir.
Okay, and some would say the 10 Commandments. Now, when you were going to church,
Yes, sir.
God, as a man on earth, what was he called?
Jesus.
Jesus. That's it. Jesus.
Jesus.
And did they have a picture of Jesus in your church?
They surely did. And
What did he look like?
A European Jesus. European Jesus. That's one reason why I had to rid myself of it.
So now you're saying that you want to liberate people
Yes, sir.
from that kind of thinking.
Yes, sir.
Because if you look in the book and find the description of Jesus,
It's totally opposite of the picture.
say he looked like me and you.
Yes, sir.
If they wanted to take a picture of Jesus, they could come to 6250
Right.
West 38th Street
Right.
and say, look, Jesus sitting at the table.
Yes, sir.
And he got a wife.
Sir. I'm with that.
Yeah. So now, if you buy into something that's not true,
Right.
and it's a well-dressed lie, then in actuality, you're not practicing a true religion. You're being deceived.
Right.
And I hear you saying that you want to liberate us from that.
Yes, sir.
That's what a liberation psychologist would do.
Yes,
Is
sir.
that not right?
No, that's correct.
So if you know that people are worshiping a white man
Yes, sir.
as God, and the book says that the man called Jesus had feet that looked like brass
Yes, sir.
burned into a furnace,
Yes, sir.
then you would say, well, you need to be liberated from that. Is that not true?
Definitely. And then that actually, in a sense, shows the conditioning or the manipulation or the deception. If the picture shows something different than the description, you have to be able to look at those two different things and be like, okay, so how's the description this way and the picture's this way?
Right.
So, I mean, yeah, you have to be liberated from that type of thinking, that type of perception, because that is distorted, and it also it's manipulative for sure, and it teaches you self-hate.
Now that's good. Now, as a liberation psychologist, how would you try, or what kind of method, what kind of strategy, what kind of counsel would you use to a person who comes in and they say that I'm a very religious person and I got issues going on, but I base my behavior on what thus saith the Lord, and I believe that Jesus is God in human form, walking the earth, or walked the earth.
Right.
And the image that they have in their mind is a white man, which doesn't line up with the description that's in the Bible. How would you liberate them in that regard?
Well, from off head, my method will be to ask some open-ended questions first.
Such as?
Something that sort of, to start off, I will say something as far as in, which they already, I guess, gave a description. I will ask them what color is their God, or what color is Jesus to them first, because, I mean, when you look at religion, each ethnic group base their God or Jesus off of their ethnic group or their color. So,
So the Chinaman's Jesus looked like a Chinaman.
Looked like a Chinaman.
And the Japanese Jesus looked like a Japanese.
Definitely.
But when you talk about the people of African descent, their Jesus looked like the white man.
It's the same one that oppressed us.
And who came up with that image of Jesus? Do you know where that image came from?
Yes, sir. From the research that I found, it was from a guy named Caesar Borgias. I can't pronounce his last name, but it's a painting from a while back. Michelangelo.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But I know it was put into play as a political reason back around 325 or something AD.
That's the Council of Nicaea.
Yes,
So, well, you've done some research, young man.
Yes, sir.
You know, but it was Pope Julius II.
Yes.
That commissioned Michelangelo.
Yes.
To paint the Sistine Chapel in Italy, Rome. And that was the first time in recorded history that Jesus' image was white.
Right.
And Pope Julius done that because he was trying to elevate the white man to be the top of the totem pole of humanity. And so when you saw the white man, you saw the human that was closest to God, because that is the picture.
Yes, sir.
But the picture does not line up with the word.
Does not line up with the words.
Now you would think the Pope
would change the words.
Would know the word.
Or at least do something to it.
But you would think that he would know the word.
Right.
And if he's got commission, he paying a cat.
Right.
To paint an image of Jesus.
Right.
And the cat come out there with a white dude. You would think he would say, Michael.
Right.
Now them images look real good. I mean, you're a good artist. But there's a conflict with that color, wouldn't you think?
I would think so.
The Pope?
I would think so, but
the Pope got to know the Bible. He's supposed to be God's representative on the earth.
Definitely, yeah.
So was it a mistake? Would you think it was a mistake?
I don't think it was a mistake. I think it was a political reason that it was done, and it fits the category of the powerful, or in trying to put us in a category of the powerless. The whole thing is based off of power dynamics, if you ask me. So, and it's to manipulate the mind, because once you can manipulate the mind, which liberation psychology is very vital, once you manipulate the mind, you have the body. So if I can change the image and make the image fit to make the white man seem as if superior, then automatically most people will start going with that and look at it and look at him as purposely done from my soul of understanding, but it's definitely trickery.
Now, I want to bring in another guest.
Yes, sir.
And this guest actually is been into liberation psychology for a little while longer, probably almost as long as you've been living.
All right.
And so, Dr. Thompson, if I could get you to just come on the set here, and yeah, okay. Okay, we got you in there. And so I want you've been listening to Brother Andre, and what he's going through to get his credentials, you've already gone through, and you've written an excellent book. What is the name of that book?
It's a book that is not quite released yet.
Right.
It's called A Psychology of Liberation and Peace.
Psychology of Liberation and Peace. How do you liberate ourselves so that we all can get along? As a doctor of psychology and one who has been in the field of liberation for decades, you've listened to what Andre has said. Interact with that for me.
Okay. Well, one of the first things is it's a rare opportunity for me to meet someone who says, I want to be a liberation psychologist. So
Right.
I mentioned that to you earlier.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's refreshing. Many people aspire to be a psychologist, and maybe along the way, I once aspired to be a psychologist. I didn't really know what a liberation psychologist was, but you are already getting on the ground knowing that that's what you want to do and be. I knew that I wanted to focus all of my attentions on Black people
Right.
and on the well-being of Black people. And I just figured that what that would entail is me learning about the basic ideas that I would be given in the program. And I went to the University of Maryland. It was a primarily white program. And it had some outstanding, one outstanding faculty member who was very much focused and committed to the welfare of Black people. Her name was Janet Helms. And so I wanted to relate to that it's refreshing to hear it, and that view,
Right.
then what that means ultimately, and you may have already experienced it, is that you become a pretty unpopular person,
Yes, ma'am.
and that you can even experience repercussions as a result of pointing out things like, the reality that we live in is really just, it's not in our best interest. We have to go against the grain and so forth, because many people go with the grain.
Right.
So a part of what a liberation psychologist is, or anybody with a liberationist perspective, is to know that there is a level of strife. He spoke out against the violence. When the violence looked like it was, and was called something else, oh, that's not violence, that's just bad people and bad situations and so forth. We speak out and say, no, that's violence. And then what happens is the people are called violent. The liberationists are called violent and criminal and aggressive and so forth. So there's a bind in all of that. And I think it's time we address that bind, because too many people will shy away from a liberationist perspective because it's not going with the flow. It's not doing the right things when in fact
Right.
you are. So you asked me to interact, and I wanted to interact with that way. I'm pleased to see that you're doing that.
So it sounds like that you've already ran into some pushback on you wanting to liberate people from this well-dressed lie that's running around here. Share with the people briefly, some
Well,
of the things that you have experienced.
going through the collegiate process, you know, they want you to use references, and certain references that I use were kind of criticized, or they like, well, it's not the typical references. So I use certain books that were books that pretty much they wouldn't want someone like me using in school that address the main issues. They want me to go around the issues and intellectualize everything. But these books that I use give straight shots, like Dr. Amos Wilson's book, Blueprint for Black Power, and things of that nature. But I'll say most of my professors kind of challenged my views. Some of them understood it and kind of made them go to a state of deciding to be more open to the discussion of black psychology and the things that are actually affecting us in our community versus dressing up the lie even more. So,
Good.
Okay. Well, Andre, I want to thank you for coming on the show.
yes, sir.
And Dr. Thompson, I want to thank you for interacting and coming on the show also.
Welcome.
What we see here is we see our intelligentsia waking up and trying to wake us up to tell us that we do not, as people in the political world would say, well, you just have to choose the lesser of two evils. No. If you give me a choice between Satan and the devil, I'm not choosing either one. And that's the reason why we've got to get organized so that we can get mobilized so that we can stop the lie that's running around here as the truth. Every Thursday, you can come to this studio, 6250 West 38th Street, and you can catch this program live. Or if you want to sit in the comforts of your home, you can go to Tom Slick TV, TOMM, 2 M's, TV.com, and take out a subscription. We are also organizing. Martin Luther King wanted us to right to vote. But even with the vote, we're still suffering the same things 50 years later after having the vote. That means that we don't know how to use the vote. It's just like if you would buy a bicycle. The bicycle can help you, but if you don't learn how to ride it, it's not going to help you. We've got to vote. Now we got to learn how to use the vote. You've been listening to Elder Amoja Ajabu, your host for After Naked Truth. Unbossed, unafraid, truly unleashed to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the butt-naked truth. If you can't stand the truth, go listen to Sean Hannity, or go listen to Rush Limbaugh. I even think that there's a couple of females out there that's trying to put out them well-dressed lies. We stripping the clothes off of those well-dressed lies. Every Thursday, 1 o'clock, 3 p.m., 6250 West 38th Street, you can come in to the studio live. My question for you is, you ready?
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Ready?
This is TomSlickTV.com.